Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone to this meeting of the Boston Art Commission. My name is Karen Goodfellow, and I'm the Director of Public Art in the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture, and also the Director of the Boston Art Commission. Let's all take a moment to update our names and pronouns and make sure we're muted. In accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, we are conducting this meeting virtually. As a reminder, this was extended until 2025. So we will continue to hold our meetings on Zoom. To ensure public access to the deliberations of the Boston Art Commission, the public can join this meeting through telephone and video conferencing. For those of you with us today, this meeting is being recorded and closed captioning is available. Access it at the bottom of the screen. If you have trouble finding it, just chat us and we'll try to help you out. The Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture and the Boston Art Commission believe that public art is any artwork installed in publicly accessible spaces where they can be experienced by everyone for free. We engage in discussions about public art in Boston in order to foster the creation and collection of artworks that reflect the people, ideas, histories, futures of Boston, which is located on the traditional homeland of the Massachusetts people and the neighboring Wampanoag and Nipmuc peoples. We acknowledge the atrocities committed against Indigenous peoples, all of the communities that have subsequently been harmed, and ways in which colonialism has created systemic oppression. We recognize the continuing presence of these communities and Indigenous peoples represented in the city's residents, in addition to those in the diaspora. We also recognize that Boston exists as a result of the forced labor and economic extraction from enslaved African Americans. For transparency and community input, artworks proposed for City of Boston property are reviewed and discussed at these public meetings of the Boston Art Commission on a regular, usually monthly basis. Working together with the Public Art Team and the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture, the BAC is an independent board composed of 2 ex officio and 7 volunteer community members appointed by the mayor. The BAC has exclusive authority to approve and commission artworks intended to be added to the city's collection or placed on city property. Our meetings are generally held on the 2nd Tuesday of every month, and we hope you will continue to join us. The Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture has the responsibility to facilitate these Boston Art Commission public meetings, and we manage all phases, daily operations, and duties related to public art projects cited on or proposed for city property in collaboration with the Boston Art Commission, community members, and colleagues at the city. Helping to facilitate this meeting are Sarah Rodrigo, Senior Public Art Project Manager, and Amber Torres, Public Art Project Manager. And we will add our contact information to the chat. And I will pass to Chair Pasnick.
Thanks, Karen. Welcome, everyone. I'm calling this public hearing to order at 4:37 p.m. Today, the Boston Art Commission is holding its monthly meeting. We'll now take roll call of the commissioners to confirm a quorum. After I state your name, commissioners, please say here. I'll begin with Camilo Alvarez.
Here.
John Andres.
Here.
Michael Canizzo.
Here.
Cara Elliott Ortega. If she's coming later. Bob Freeman.
Here.
Brian Hone.
Here.
And Kim Pinder. I don't think she's here.
I'm here.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yes.
Kim. Hi, Kim.
I'm on a train, so.
All right.
I'm here.
So we do have a quorum. Thank you, everyone. On the next slide, you'll see today's agenda, which is also posted publicly on the city's website, boston.gov. We will now review the meeting minutes from the March 14th meeting of the Boston Art Commission. Are there any comments or modifications any commissioner would like to make at this time? I believe I sent a typo via email to the team already. Any other comments? Hearing none, would anybody like to make a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll move to accept the minutes of last month's meeting.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, John. As I read off your name, say yes if you agree with the motion. Camilo?
Yes.
John?
Yeah.
Michael?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well, so the motion passes. Thank you, everyone. Karen will now highlight the presentations for public review and give her director's report. So Karen, do you want to start that?
Yeah. Thank you, Mark. We have 5 presentations for review today. We have the Cow Parade New England, a citywide short-term installation of cow sculptures customized by local artists. Cycles of Peace, a short-term installation at Doherty-Gibson Playground in Dorchester, led by artist Ruth Henry and Fields Corner Crossroads Collaborative Youth Council. Peace Poles, a short-term installation in Dorchester, led by artists Alexis Smith, Ruth Henry, and Temmy Monteiro Gomes. And Aprede A Brillar in Todos Lados, Learn to Shine Everywhere, a long-term artwork for the Margarita Muniz Academy in Jamaica Plain, and artist selection for the new Engine 17 fire station in Dorchester. Also really excited to share that Liza Quinones from Street Theory is joining us as mural consultant. We contracted with Street Theory as our mural consultant for 3 years, and we've worked with Street Theory through Liza in the past to manage some of our other projects, and we're really looking forward to collaborating with her this year in particular, focusing on some of our capital projects and to bring incredible murals throughout the city, and really appreciate all her experience and generosity. And in particular on her, immediately she's going to return to working on the Malcolm X basketball courts and the mural on the Shelbourne basketball court, not Shelbourne Wall, the Shelbourne Community Center, right next to the basketball courts at the park. And we have a few updates about commissions. As we mentioned last month, we're advancing plans for the installation of the Edward O. Gourdine and Black Veterans Memorial. You can see photographs of the park on the right with the pedestals in place. The Parks Department anticipates opening the park in late spring or early summer. For the Douglas Plaza project, future home of the Frederick Douglass Memorial, the Office of Arts and Culture has contracted with Sasaki Associates for foundation design and engineering services, and McPhail for geotechnical services, which will enable the Department of Public Works to finish creating the bid set for the plaza. The Brown Fund has also awarded a new grant to the Frederick Douglass Sculpture Committee for the installation of the artworks and to pay Paul Goodnight, the local artist who created the drawing that the artwork is based on. Installation and plaza opening will be either late fall of this year or early next spring. And I think just as a note on those, I really want to thank Sarah Rodrigo for all her work on those, and also yourselves for all the time you put into those projects, and the community members who have really seen them through. Continuing with commissioning projects, last Saturday, the artist team working on the Fire Station 42 public artwork hosted a really wonderful community celebration at the Possible Zone in JP. It was a great event with a lot of fire people from the fire department present, including Commissioner Burke and community members. And there are some photos of the event on the right. And if you've never heard Lamerchi speak about her work, or if you're not familiar with it, I really recommend you check out her beautiful quilts and her design for the fire station. It's really thoughtful, and it was really great because she had community members take photos that she's planning on using and incorporating into the design as silhouettes. Wenty Sen's maquettes and proposal for the Chinatown worker statues are on display at the POW Center now, and we encourage commissioners and the public to visit them. We've also been working on site selection for the project with colleagues. In the map on the right, you can see a wide array of locations that we're in process of vetting. Ooh, that's not true. I think we switched the photos, but we've been working with the project advisory group and various city departments on that. Liza and our Director of Administration and Finance, Naida Faria, are working to execute contracts for the Malcolm X basketball court and the Shelbourne BCYF Center with the goal of implementing those projects this summer. And we'll be releasing a new call to artists for 26 Court Street in May. The project is for a call for large-scale figurative exterior artworks, and we're looking forward to sharing that with you all, and we hope that you can help promote it. We think it's a pretty exciting project. We'll also be releasing that perennial favorite, the call to artists for Paintbox, in early summer. And I want to mention that we are fielding a very high number of proposals for mural and short-term projects across the city right now. And we're looking forward to a busy summer of public art. Moving on to the existing collection, we're finalizing a maintenance agreement for the Embrace with the Boston Foundation. And the Boston Massacre medallion outside of Old City Hall has come loose again, so we're contracting with Daedalus to remove, repair, and reset the entire ring this spring. We're also working on a plan for mural restorations, as we've received a number of requests from constituents and artists for mural restorations, either because of vandalism or because of age. So we're trying to think through how we will manage those concerns in the future. And related to vandalism, Sarah Hutt of the Friends of the Public Garden notified us this week that she said 90 plus of the river stones lining the basin of the river fountain have been removed. And the park rangers haven't noticed any unusual activity in the area, but the stones are easy to replace and she'll keep us in the loop if we understand more about what's happening. And I will pass back to you, Mark.
Okay, thank you very much, Karen. Lots of good things happening. We will now move on to the item on the agenda for review, public testimony and commission vote. Here's how you can participate in today's meeting. During the meeting, please keep yourself muted. If you have technical difficulties during the meeting, you can ask questions in the chat and a member of staff will help you. After presentations and commissioners clarifying questions, we may invite public testimony. If you would like to participate, you can press the raise your hand icon and staff will put you in a digital line for comment. You can also let staff know that you have a question in the chat. If you are calling in, press *9 to raise your hand. Please remember to keep your comments on topic and brief. Our goal is to make this meeting a good experience for all so that community members feel comfortable sharing their feedback and questions. Be mindful of and respectful of other people's time when speaking so that other participants feel comfortable adding their comments. Submit longer written testimony to bac@boston.gov. While you may disagree with other attendees' testimony, you may not interrupt them during their allotted time. Please keep questions and comments project specific. If you are called on, please state your name, title, and program or organization if you're part of one. Our first presentation for review today is the Cow Parade, New England. Amber Torres will introduce the project. Amber?
Thank you, Mark. Commissioners may recall that the city of Boston last hosted a cow parade in 2006, and this year's proposal is brought to us by DFCI and the Jimmy Fund. Rebecca Shortle and Marianne Shao will be presenting. When you're ready.
Thanks, Amber. Hi, I'm Rebecca Shortle. I'm a Senior Associate Director at the Jimmy Fund at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, and I'm here with my colleague, Marianne Shao. Thanks so much for having us, and thanks so much to Amber and Sarah for your help walking us through this process. It's been a wonderful experience to learn more about your group. For those who aren't familiar, the Jimmy Fund is the fundraising arm of Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. We support pediatric and adult cancer research and care here in Boston, and the impact from Dana-Farber is seen across the world. We're excited to be celebrating our 75th anniversary in 2023, and in honor of that, we will be bringing Cow Parade to Boston this year. Cow Parade is a separate organization. They've been in 80+ countries since the late 1990s, and they've raised over $30 million for local charities worldwide. So they partner with different cities and partner with a charity in that city to bring the exhibit. As mentioned, Dana-Farber worked on a cow parade back in 2006, and we're really excited to bring it back again this summer. The 2023 event will feature 75 life-size cows in honor of our 75th anniversary. The cows will be on public display from June 24th through September 4th, really capitalizing on those busy summer holidays and high foot traffic throughout the city. The cows have been painted by New England artists and will be designed and released in herds this summer. They'll be located in high traffic landmarks throughout the greater Boston area. We will be doing this as a fundraising initiative. Cows will be sold to sponsors, both corporate and individuals, and we'll also be putting a number of cows up for online auction at the close of the exhibit. That said, the exhibit itself is free and open to the public, and that's really one of the things that makes this, this program so unique for Dana-Farber. Typically, our fundraising initiatives have a minimum participation, fundraising minimum, or a ticket cost associated. So this is one of the few programs we have from the Jimmy Fund that is free, accessible, open to everyone at no financial cost. So we're really thrilled to bring this into the city and its visitors. I'm going to turn it over to Marianne to give you an overview of the artist and design process.
Hi, everyone. I was tasked with commissioning the artists for this project. and wanted to just take a little bit of time to talk about the importance of how DFCI garnered these artists. It was important for us that they represented all 6 New England states, that they held both professional status and were up and coming, so that they ran the entire gamut from one end to the other, but mostly that they were from diverse backgrounds, LGBTQ plus folks and underrepresented communities around Boston. The artists that were from the past, the present, and retired teachers, those that were standouts on social media platforms, and of course, past and present patients. And we did succeed in doing all of that. We looked for artists whose past work represented the scope and the type of art that would serve as an outstanding public art display, but that would also later be sold and auctioned off to raise funds for DFCI. In this case, thank goodness for Google, social media, and websites. We selected the artists in 3 ways. Our first reach out was to our DFCI philanthropy team, who we reached out to and asked for recommendations on the professional and up and coming artists that were in their pool of professional and personal groups. The artists from 2006 were interested in painting again. I managed to book 3 of them, and among them, they have painted 10 cows for this cow parade. Recommendations also came from Cow Parade Vice President Ron Fox, who scoured Instagram, finding a number of our new and upcoming artists. The artists are provided with a $1,000 honorarium to cover their time and supplies. And as for the design work, after we commissioned each artist, we asked them to submit a cow design of their choice. We did not do an open call for artists, but we did say to them that no subject matter was off limits, except that because it was a public art exhibit, it had to be family friendly. We have several corporate sponsors on board for the event, including Herb Chambers, Jordan's Furniture, Home Goods, Coca-Cola. And as part of their sponsorship, they have the opportunity to meet with an artist and create a custom cow that represented their company that would also be included in the exhibit. But logos are not allowed in the artwork per the Cow Parade organization and Dana-Farber. So I worked alongside each artist and the company to develop a design that was considered brand expressive and not a billboard or an advertisement for the company in any way, shape, or form. You'll see in the presentation that there is indeed a link to all of the artist info and the cow renderings. A little bit of the technical details regarding the installation and the maintenance of the cows. The cows weigh about 125 pounds each. They will each be affixed to a wooden base, and they're up to about 95 inches long, heads extending past the base. The base itself will be weighted with about 100 pounds of tubular sandbags for ballast, bringing the total weight of each cow to approximately 250 pounds. The installation is being coordinated with a professional moving company for, as Rebecca said, June 20th through 23rd during daylight hours. Our staff at the event fundraising team will be doing weekly visits throughout the exhibit time, just to make sure that each cow is in presentable condition. And if they are by chance not in that situation, we'll work with the exhibit location host and the artist to troubleshoot repairs as they are needed. I will turn it back over to Rebecca.
Thanks, Marianne. Shown here is a mock-up of what the plaque will look like. Each cow will have 2 plaques, one thanking the sponsor and one thanking Bond Brothers, who has provided these bases shown on the right in kind. The larger plaque shown here will also have a little bit of narrative about Dana-Farber and the Jimmy Fund and the Jimmy Fund 75th anniversary. There'll be a QR code that links to a Jimmy Fund website. And then the smaller Bond Brother plaque will also have a small phrase reminding folks not to get on the cow, not to touch them or try to sit on top of them in any way. This is a mock-up of our map, so we're really excited about our locations. The 75 cows will be placed at about 35 different locations. So many locations will have multiple cows per site. For example, we're planning to have about 10 cows in the Boston Common. We are concentrated in downtown Boston, though we do have several cows over in Cambridge. We're hopefully going to have 2 on Spectacle Island. We'll have a few in Dorchester, and we'll also have 1 at Polar Park in Worcester and Patriot Place in Foxborough. This slide and the next slide lists out all of the individual site locations. We have worked really strategically to ensure that we're being inclusive and mindful of representing a broad community as we think about the locations. Among other considerations, we really wanted to ensure that the exhibit locations are free, accessible to the public. We have many sites that are right near public transit, so making sure this is really something that all folks can enjoy, ensuring that there's adequate security and that the cows will not be in the way of emergency vehicles, any foot traffic, ensuring that they're accessible to folks and that they're not blocking any sidewalks or ramps, anything like that. And again, just thinking about places that would be family friendly and appropriate for the cows, and that would allow both visitors and Boston residents to enjoy them. And I've listed here the different points of contact. The BPDA has been a great resource. Thank you so much. And it's really been wonderful. As I chat with one location, I'm generally kind of introduced to 3 or 4. So it's been nice to see the enthusiasm and the networking among the Boston groups. We're just about at time, but we just wanted to close with a few photos. We do have several of our cows that have been finished. These are their professional glamour shots. We're going to show a few of them today. Marianne has linked a Dropbox that has many of the renderings online, so feel free to take a look. They're incredible. Seeing them in person over at our artist studio in Somerville is really impressive, and we're really excited to bring this to the Boston community. This one here is a mosaic cow. This was all hand done. And then there's actually a mini cow, a mini moo that goes along with it that's been done in mosaic as well. And then this one was a crowd favorite, the Bill Bella cow, a fun play on the Patriots. Any questions or comments?
Okay, thank you very much for a very thorough presentation. I'll open it up to commissioners now who might have some questions for Rebecca.
I have a question only out of jealousy that our Jamaica Plain community is not represented by your incredibly powerful artwork on the cows. Were we intentionally left out, or can we get a cow over there?
No, you were not intentionally left out at all. I worked with the director of the community benefits at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. She was able to help introduce me to some of her partners and neighbors across the city. I had reached out to a few local squares and neighborhoods. One of those I'd reached out to Roxbury and never heard back from. So we'd be delighted to give you guys a cow. One of the reasons we kind of structured it as we did, right now we have 10 slated for Boston Common, but that's flexible. So in this example, if you guys were able to take on a cow, we'd be glad to move one off of Boston Common and onto your property. We really want to be as inclusive and broad as possible.
Thank you.
To that regard, it might be nice to have an instance in some of the neighborhoods that don't have that much public art in them as well, Mattapan or East Boston or something like that. These are neighborhoods that could use more attention. So I don't know if that is a possibility to start to consider 1 or 2 more neighborhoods.
Sure, absolutely. And East Boston particular, that was mentioned to us, and we do have a lead there, so we'd be glad to add that to the list.
Okay,
That's
great.
a great idea. The watershed, the ICA watershed gets incredibly activated during the summer months. That would be a great location. I was also thinking about Franklin Park Zoo. I don't think they have any cows.
I don't think they do either, but we could certainly reach out to them.
Yeah, especially you've been so conscious of diversity with the artist selection process, which I think is fantastic. It'd be great to have that represented across the neighborhoods too. Other questions from commissioners?
I just had a question about the inclusion of logos on the signage.
Sure.
Mark, do you have thoughts about that? I know we've kind of had that consideration for other projects.
Karen, what do you think in these instances, because it's temporary, short-term fundraising?
There are no logos at all allowed. So,
but on the plaque you have, on the placard, not on the.
I think because they're short-term.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
I think we allow them as long as they're discrete for short-term.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, technically they don't fit our bylaws for permanent signage, but since this is temporary, I think it shouldn't be a problem. Brian, any other questions too on that? Oh, that's good. Okay.
Yep.
Did Kim have a question? I think I'm seeing one in.
MS, is it possible to move some cows to these new locations we just discussed from sites including the Boston Common? Yes, absolutely. So we are hoping to finalize the map in the next few days so that we can build out our website and really showcase the locations included, but we certainly can shuffle things around, and we'd be glad to take any leads that you guys have for JP or East Boston or other neighborhoods of interest.
Great. Thank you for being amenable to that.
Absolutely.
Any other commissioner questions? How about members of the public? Seeing none, I'll give it a minute. If anyone wants to raise their hand and make a comment, feel free. All right, seeing none, why don't we move on to a motion? Would somebody like to make a motion, and maybe including an encouragement to look at moving some of the works to neighborhoods that aren't yet represented? Do I have a volunteer for a motion?
I can make a motion to approve final design of Cow Parade New England by various artists proposed by DC or DFCI and the Jimmy Fund, with the consideration of relocating cows to underrepresented neighborhoods.
Great, that's perfect. So thank you, Brian. Do I hear a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Camilo. So if you agree with the motion, please say yes when I read your name. Camilo?
Yes.
John?
Yeah.
Michael?
Yes.
Cara? Is Cara here?
I don't think so.
Okay. Bob?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. So the motion passes. Thank you very much for all the work that you're doing on this. And we look forward to seeing these in various places around the city this summer.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for your support.
Thank you so much.
Okay. The next project is a short-term mural at Doherty-Gibson Playground in Dorchester, proposed by the Louis D. Brown Institute for Peace. Amber will introduce the project. Amber?
Cycles of Peace is one of 3 projects being proposed by teaching artist Ruth Henry tonight. Cycles of Peace is an installation of wooden circular panels that will be installed along the fence at the Doherty-Gibson Playground in Dorchester. I'm going to hand it over to Allie from the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute to tell you more about the project. Allie?
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Amber. We are so grateful to be here, so thank you all for your time. My name's Alexandra, and I'm one of the co-executive directors at the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute, and we're so excited to present a mural installation proposal for Townfield in Dorchester. And this is in collaboration with the Fields Corner Crossroads Collaborative.
And our 27th annual Mother's Day Walk for Peace is coming up this May, and we're hoping to have a couple of public art projects launched as part of this year's walk to encourage our community to embrace Generation Peace, which is next generation coming up. My name is Ruth Henry.
In our why, the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute was founded after 15-year-old Louis Brown was caught in a crossfire on his way to a Teens Against Gang Violence party. And his one famous thing that he used to say is, if true peace is to be achieved, it would be up to my generation, regardless of which side of the streets they came from. And Louis was a 15-year-old peacemaker who dreamed of being the nation's first Black president. And so we've dubbed this generation, had he lived, Generation Peace. We're a center of healing, teaching, and learning for families and communities impacted by murder, trauma, grief, and loss. We believe all families deserve to be treated with dignity and compassion, regardless of the circumstances surrounding their loved one's murder. And we work together to create and sustain an environment where all families can live in peace and where all people feel valued. Our artist selection process began with the involvement of our Generation Peace teaching artist in residence. You heard her voice just a few seconds ago, Ruth K. Henry.
And you can see in this slide and in the next slide some of the first ways that we started involving our community of survivors and our network and their families in some collective art making over the past year. These are both 2 indoor murals that we have at the Peace Institute now, and now we're hoping to reach out kind of beyond our walls to the larger community. This next slide shows an example of a similar mural, which I completed in Lynn, Massachusetts. And much as you can see, the circles kind of sandwiched across a fence at the Brickett Elementary School in Lynn, this is the same type of installation that we'll be looking at for Fields Corner.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah. I'm the Crossroads Youth Coordinator. Here you can see our youth council pictured here.
Hi, I'm George Alves. I'm with the Fields Corner Crossroads Collaborative, and here's a description for the project. The Cycle of Peace mural project engages young people and their families from across the Fields Corner neighborhood to strengthen the impact of Generation Peace through public art making. Together, we reflect on and creatively express the 7 principles of peace: love, unity, hope, faith, courage, justice, and forgiveness on a series of wooden circles.
Here are 2 possible install sites along the town field fence that we have discussed with the Department of Recreation.
And here comes a mock-up of what it would look like on the next slide. The mural includes 1 back to front pair of 4-foot circles, 7 back to front pairs of 2-foot circles, and 7 back to front pairs of 1-foot circles. And here they are showed on the 2 different sides of the fence where we could potentially put them.
All right, as you guys can see, I'm Jalen. I go by he, him pronouns. I'm with FCCC as well. And as you can see here, these are like a few of our portraits like up close. And you can kind of see the what we're trying to represent: love, unity, faith, hope, courage, justice, and forgiveness. On one side of the fence, this is how it looked close up. And on the next slide, it's the other side. This is like what the other side of the fence would look like. And basically they're like sandwiched together. So you would see one, like the first half on like one side. And like, if you were to the back, like if you were on the back side of the fence, you would see the other side. Yeah, like that.
And these are just close-ups of smaller circles where people wrote what each principle of peace meant to them.
Now we will show you some examples of community engagement.
We started this process at our very own Peace Institute staff and volunteer luncheon, and since then we've expanded it to the Dorchester open streets.
And then we continued at a Celebrate Education event hosted by the Boys and Girls Club, and at additional family sessions held at the Peace Institute for families who wanted to get involved.
And here is where you can see our youth council getting involved.
Here is a letter from ADSL talking about how these would bring so much joy and thought to the athletes who use the field.
Here is our letter saying how we think that this can help decrease the cycles of violence.
Here's a letter from a survivor talking about how beautiful the painting experience was for her.
And now we'll share with you a little bit about our fabrication and installation plans. The circles are created on marine plywood using exterior grade and acrylic paint, and they will be sealed on both sides using Sherwood-Williams anti-graffiti coating weather sealant. They'll be sandwiched together on both sides of the fence, as shown earlier in Lynn, using weatherproof nuts and bolts. And the mural would go up in May of this year and be installed for 18 months. Based on the lifespan of similar projects that I've done, we don't anticipate many maintenance needs during that time frame. But that said, the location is 2 blocks from our home organization, so we will continue to do monthly checks for damage and complete any needed repairs that arise.
Here's the sign that we would like to include with the mural with artist names and questions to further engage community. And that's the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. That was great. How involved you have made the community in this whole process, and even the way you've presented as a group. Really very fun to see. So let me now open it up to commissioners who might have some questions. Okay, no questions from commissioners. I think you did a good job clarifying the whole project. How about members of the public? Any comments from members of the public? All right, hearing none.
Yeah, I'd like to share.
Oh, go ahead, Gio.
Yep, I'm Gio, commissioned for something else, but really happy to hear as a member of Dorchester, specifically Fields Corner. Really great to hear that the message of peace is ringing loud and clear with this artwork. And I'd like to see more of this moving forward. Yeah, great job to all the youth and the people who made this possible.
Okay, thank you, Gio. Any other comments from the public? Seems like there's plenty of support here.
I would just like to add to that, kind of piggyback off of that. I've been a Fields Corner resident for several years now, and I am excited about this project and just seeing it in my neighborhood.
Okay, thank you, Heather. All right, so why don't we see if there's a motion on the floor from a commissioner? Would a commissioner like to make a motion?
I move that that we accept the artwork by Generation Peace, and we enthusiastically look forward to seeing the artwork on display.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, Camilo. So I will, if you're in agreement with the motion, please say yes when I call your name. Camilo?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
And Kim?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. So the motion passes. Congratulations to everybody. We're excited to see this work come to fruition soon.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Okay, our next presentation for review is a long-term mural at the Margarita Muniz Academy in Jamaica Plain. Amber will introduce the project. Amber?
Learn to Shine Everywhere is the next project being proposed by teaching artist Ruth Henry, this time in her capacity as an artist in residence for the organization I Learn America. The mosaic mural, which started as a collaboration across classrooms, is also a memorial that will include a portrait of the late Margarita Muniz. I'm going to hand it over to Erica Castro to begin the presentation. Erica?
Thank you, Amber. Good evening, everyone. My name is Erica Castro, and I'm the Boston Community Hub School Coordinator at the Margarita Muniz Academy. And today we'll be presenting on a mixed media mural proposal, Aprede A Brillar, a Todos Lados, Learn to Shine Everywhere. And I just want to make sure that we go ahead and click to the next slide. I would like to start by giving some background information, both on Margarita Muniz Academy as well as I Learn America. Margarita Muniz Academy is the first and only dual language school in New England, opened in September of 2012. So we are on our 11th year. This mural project is a reflection of our mission to engage with community reflection, reflecting our diversity and leadership. I Learn America, also known as ILA, is a participatory education project, which uses the power of storytelling and the arts to foster empathy, urgency, and action around issues affecting migrant youth as they forge their own path in a new land.
And I've been working with I Learn America as an artist in residence, as well as at the Peace Institute, and was selected to do this for my experience working nationally with the organization and with similar populations, as well as being a bilingual artist and having a mixed media outdoor mural experience. And also selected to work with me as a teaching artist, Taina Vargas, who you'll meet on the next slide.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Taina Vargas, and I have been working with Ruth along with Margarita Muniz students and one of the humanities classes there. I am a former JP resident and also a Boston Public School visual arts teacher, and I currently partner with I Learn America and a few other art organizations engaging Boston youth. And so I've been supporting this process with Erika and also Ruth.
This is a reference project in Watertown, Massachusetts, which shows kind of a mixed media mural with both mosaic and a painted background, which is a similar kind of combination of materials that we'll be using in this mural as well. And this was created in 2017, I believe.
So the project began by having one of our I Learn America youth facilitators, Daniel Arias, share his own story to our students in our 11th grade Spanish humanities class with Ms. Vieras back in October. And then students reflected on that and made connections using text as well as silhouettes for their window in mirrors project. This led to a series of story sharing circles. And in January, a cohort of 10 student leaders worked with ILA artists to design and create a mosaic using common themes from student stories. Students decided on a sun as well as a river for the image for the mosaic, the sun representing strength, courage, and a reminder that each day is a new day, and the river representing the constant adaptation and how to navigate and learn through change in new lands, new languages, and new family structures.
So student leader presented the mosaic process to their classmates and invited each of them to paint individual glazed tiles. For the sun tile, we had a couple of prompts. One was given advice to someone who had recently arrived to this country or someone going through a difficult time. And then for the river tile prompt, students were focusing on what helps them to adapt to new situations. So each of the group put together their final mosaic, and also along with the students, the ILA artists and the Muniz students designed the painted mural background for the new mosaic centerpiece. And we'll show you a couple of images coming up.
When the students got together and they started to think about where they would like the mural to go, the class chose the main entrance. As you can see on the top is an aerial view of the school where it would be, and at the bottom is the actual wall where we would put the mural.
And on our next slide, we have a rendering of the mural itself. You can see the mosaic centerpiece and then the painted background behind it. And I'll just share with you here a little bit about who Margarita Muniz was. She spent 39 years in the Boston Public Schools. She was first an ESL teacher and coordinator, and then she was principal of Rafael Hernandez, which was the first K-8 dual language school in Massachusetts. She was the principal there for 30 years and then died after a long battle with cancer. She herself came to the United States at age 11 without her parents, which is a situation that many of our students can relate to as well. And throughout college, it was her dream to work for Boston Public Schools and make a difference in the lives of newcomer children. Her years of advocacy and excellence in bilingual education inspired the Boston Public Schools to open its first dual language high school in her name in 2012. So with this mural, we hope to continue her legacy of building a bilingual learning community that honors our cultures, languages, and experiences. This is another reference project just to show kind of how we move from the photograph that was in the design to a painted version. So this is a mural that I worked with through I Learn America in Broward County in Florida. And you can see how the original design used photographs and then the final mural is the painted version.
And now we'll be moving to showing you some of the community engagement that has happened from the beginning of this project to where we are today. In the next slide, you'll be able to see, well, in this slide, you're able to see the mirror painting as well. And then here on the top left, the following one on the top left, you're able to see the student youth facilitator telling his story and how we led through the circles that we had. And down on the left corner, you're able to see the final mirror and windows project that we shared with the school community.
And then you'll see some of the tile painting sessions. The next slide includes the mosaic building process.
And then on our next slide, you can see some of our upcoming community engagement activities as well, including the after-school mural painting crew, pending approval of this project that we would engage with. We'll be having a mural launch and book celebration. We're working in collaboration with 826 Boston, who's publishing a book of the student stories. So we'll be inviting families and communities to join to both celebrate the publishing of that book and the launching of the mural. And we actually, our I Learn America students currently have an exhibit up at the ICA Teen Gallery called The Stories of Us. So we're exploring the idea of maybe doing a cross-site closing showcase as well, where we could launch some of the pictures of this mural.
As you see here in our timeline, our mural has been a long and purposeful process. We began with storytelling and finding community connections through the Mirror Project. Through the school year, we expanded and added 826 Boston as a collaborator with this project to capture students' written stories. Our hope is to get approved this evening after we present and have the final mural installed by June and invite the community to celebrate.
In terms of the process for fabricating and installing, the tiles were created using ceramic glaze on pre-bisqued tiles, and then they were fired and attached with a Curl Pro tile adhesive to cement backer board panels, and then grouted and sealed with exterior paint on the back of Miracle 511 impregnator sealant on front.
And the painted background will be created using exterior grade primer, paint, and sealant prior to the installation of the mosaic panel centerpiece.
And then the mosaic panel will then be drilled into the wall using cement drill and screws.
Based on the lifespan of similar projects, we don't anticipate many maintenance needs for the first 6 to 10 years. That said, the location is our school site, so we will continue to do annual checks for damage and complete any needed repairs that arise.
With our mural, we would like to also include a plaque, including the piece's title, Aprede A Brillar en Todos Lados, Learn to Shine Everywhere, including the artists that work on it, both adults and students. And also, we would like to honor Margarita Muniz as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Okay, let me open it up to any commissioners who have comments or questions.
The only comment I had was the plaque. If considering the title of the piece is in Spanish and English, I feel the rest of the text should also be bilingual.
That's a good point. And perhaps, could we go back to that? Because it seems a little bit long. I wonder if it could be made tighter.
Yeah, we're happy to work to condense that and translate it as well. I think that's a great idea, Camila.
And maybe
I'm
work
also
with
wondering,
staff a little. Oh, sorry, I was just going to say work with staff to just determine if it has the right information that we want on these.
And these days, the kids really love using QR codes. That could be another way to engage younger audiences for more information as well.
That's a great idea, because we actually have an online human library of the story. So I think that's a really beautiful idea. Absolutely.
And I would just give a shout out both to this project and the previous project for the really rich community engagement and the participation of the community. It's always really exciting when community members can kind of see their hand or their experiences reflected in artworks like this. So just a kudos to you for all of that work. I know that work takes a lot of time and it's hard to coordinate, but it's really exciting to see that here.
I'll second those kudos.
Thanks, guys.
All right, let's see if there's any comments from the community, from the public at large. If you want to make a comment, just raise your hand.
Hi, I'm Dania Vasquez. I am the very proud founding head of school for the Margarita Muniz Academy. And I've seen the project evolve and just want to really raise up my appreciation to Ruth, Taina, the students, Erica, and Alice, who's not on the call, who's the teacher who worked on this. It's been many months and many evolutions. I did want to raise up a little trivia that I think makes the mural all the more special. When Margarita I had the honor of working with her as we were building the school before she passed. And I learned that the first place she taught was here in this building. And her first classroom was 319. Where we currently have one of our graduates as a teacher who is an immigrant and is now teaching in the room that Margarita first started teaching. And so I think there are many, many connections. And so I think the mural will be especially lovely and have a lot of meaning. Also to the Hernandez community, our sister school. And we're looking forward to some more collaboration with the Hernandez. And so I think the mural kind of connects a lot of efforts over many years around bilingual education that so many of us have worked on, and that Margarita was certainly an inspiration to. And so, it's, you know, I hope we get the approval. Everybody has seen the images, and it sort of also kind of puts a stake in the ground that we are the only dual language high school with this beautiful imagery that I think is long, long overdue in our community. So thank you for all the work, Ruth and team, Erica, Taina, Danielle. I'm sure I'm missing somebody, and the students, etc. And also shout out to the folks at the commission, to Amber, who was so very kind and walked us through the process. I jumped on it some weeks ago right away. And she was really super awesome to walk us through everything. So thanks to Amber as well.
Great. Well, thank you for your comments, and thanks of our commission staff, because they do work very hard. Okay, any other comments from the community before we move to a vote? Seeing none, I would ask, is there a commissioner who would like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to accept Learn to Shine Everywhere at the Margarita Muniz Academy in JP.
Great. Thank you, Camilo. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Kim. Kim just beat you under the wire, Brian. So if you agree with the motion, as I read off your name, please say yes. Camilo?
C, yes.
Oh, John?
Yes.
Michael?
Enthusiastic, yes.
Cara?
Yes.
Bob?
I'll join Michael in an enthusiastic yes.
I'll need to note that in the minutes. Brian?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. So the motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone, for all your hard work on this. And we look forward to seeing it. Okay, our next presentation for review. Oh, we're going to take a brief pause while the slides are updated. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, thank you. We're going to refresh the slides to include some work related to the mosaics at Doherty-Gibson Park that we meant to have in before, but we're just going to go over them now. So apologies for that, everybody, but we're just going to quickly refresh the slides and jump into those.
And I will entertain everybody while that's happening. How's that?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not.
Can you all see the peace polls
Yes.
title slide?
Yes.
Excellent. We should.
Oh, you've already changed it? That was quick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. So our next presentation for review is for Peace Poles, a short-term project in Dorchester. Amber will introduce the project. Amber?
Thank you.
Amber, you've been busy.
Oh yeah, really busy and really embracing my role as the project manager of short-term projects, and happy to introduce them. So, I am going to introduce Peace Poles, which is the final project being proposed by Ruth Henry in collaboration with Louis D. Brown Institute for Peace, and Temmy Monteiro Gomes. And just so commissioners know, the artist team is still in the process of obtaining site approval from the Public Works Department to install artwork on city light poles. So any motions made by the commission today in favor of this project would be pending approval from the property owners. So with that said, I'd like to hand it over to Alexandra again.
Thank you again, Amber. Long time no see, everybody. I'm excited to present this Peace Poles project. I started to get a little bit emotional when you all were voting on the last project, because this project is really the heart of our work. In honor of our loved ones who we've lost, and in honor of the survivors who have been left behind. So with that, I'm excited to introduce to you again, reintroduce to you Ruth Henry, Alexis, and Temmy. We can go to the next slide.
Hi again, everybody. And thank you for all of your time and support. This next slide is another reference photo. This one is in Villa Victoria in O'Day Park. And this one is kind of just showing mixed media installation, not just a mural, which is what this new project will be. And I'm very excited to introduce to you guys our guest artist for our first love poll, who's Alexis Smith. And she's also our survivor liaison and one of the artists who participated in the Cycles of Peace mural that you approved earlier. Alexis.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alexis Smith. These are photos here from us working on the faith circles, which I did at the open streets. And then the photos on the right is me and the youth members creating the ceramic tiles. Next.
And I'll introduce our other guest artist, Temmy, for the Unity poll. So we have this project is over. We're submitting 2 polls right now, but over time we're looking to build 7. We're funded by NEFA to build 7. The first 2 for this season are done by Alexis and Temmy. So Temmy is the guest artist for the Unity poll and also our Generation Peace liaison. Take it away, Temmy.
Hello, everybody. My name is Temmy. I'm a young local artist who loves working with 3D art. Is one of my favorite things to do. I participated actually on the Cycles of Peace mural, and that's actually how I met Ruth and got this far with everything. And then I was invited to take lead role on this project.
This is another reference photo. This is from Florianopolis, Brazil, which is where I was first inspired by the idea of peace poles many years ago. These are not peace poles per se, but they are multimedia installations on street poles. And I just loved the way that they got creative and beautified the city.
Peace Poles transforms our community response to violence by honoring those we've lost in colorful mixed media installations around street poles. And each installation uplifts one of the 7 principles of peace that guide our work. You guys have heard them: love, unity, faith, hope, courage, justice, and forgiveness. And while celebrating the dreams held and principles embodied by our loved ones who've been murdered. It begins with the creation of the 7 peace poles along the route of our annual Mother's Day Walk for Peace, which is on May 14th. In our artist cohort of muralists, educators, art therapists, and survivors of homicide victims design the poles and guide the children and families. You're muted, Alexis.
The first principle of peace that we hold up is the principle of love. We dedicated our first poll to love by inviting some survivors to hand paint 2 tiles using ceramic glaze, one with their lost loved one's name in a heart, and another representing something that was important to their loved one. Younger members of our survivor families are invited to create field tiles using clay and glaze. Youth leaders from the Phil's Corner Crossroads Collaborative Youth Council guide the smaller children in this process. Together, these tiles are then fired and quilted into 6 mosaic panels within a heightened metal frame that is designed to wrap and lock around hexagonal street light. Additional tiles in these mosaic panels spell love in English, Spanish, Portuguese, Cape Verdean Creole, and Vietnamese. The most common language our Phil's Corner community while commemorating the many loved ones our Homicide Survivors Network has lost. Together, we offer our community love in their names. Next.
So we dedicate our second poll to unity by inviting both our network of survivors and in our community to come together to decorate strips of Tyvek, which we hope to weave around the street pole as one weaves a maypole. Participants will use colors and stencils to answer the question of how does your community help you heal? Younger participants guided by the Fields Corner Youth Council and Emerson college students will add additional imagery with acrylic paint markers. Later, we will weave our strips around the pole together as a collective celebration. A middle section will then be covered with gold painted Tyvek with the words unity in multiple languages. While coming together to cultivate cycles of peace, we offer our community the principle of unity.
And in our next slide, you can see the aerial view of the property. We're looking to do the love pole on the corner of Dorchester Ave and Park Street, which is where our Walk for Peace traditionally starts, and the unity pole at the first turn that the walk takes onto Geneva Ave. So it would be the first street light on the right side of Geneva Ave. Both of these poles are part of the Street Lighting Division of Public Works, located, we've discovered, at 400 Frontage Road. So we're going to be following up with them. And on the next slide, you can see renderings on those 2 poles. The love pole on the left with the tiles and the mosaic panels, and the unity pole on the right with the maypole weaving. Alexis, I think you're on mute.
Here you can see a 3D model that I created for the love pole.
Here you can see a 3D model that I created for the unity pole that we uses both Tyvek and clay. Now we're going to show you some of our community engagement. Some examples are now on the screen.
Alexis, it's unmute.
Okay. Here are some of the pictures of our tile painting session that we did with survivors and their families at the Peace Institute for our love pole. And here are some pictures of our mosaic building workshop that we did with Fields Corner Youth Council. It was very fulfilling to create this with youth members that were the same age as my son.
So here are some upcoming community engagement opportunities, including more mosaic building workshops, our unity pole workshop, and a cultural festival at Townfield, and of course, our Mother's Day Walk for Peace.
Next, you'll see a letter of support from the Spot for Life Foundation, talking about how powerful it was for them to honor their son's memory on tiles and how the piece would be an important reminder to our community that lives matter and that love never forgets those lives.
Here is a letter from Emerson College talking about how excited they are to collaborate in this project.
Here's a letter from Dot House Health talking about how they think this project can help contribute to community health.
And the next one is from Lower Roxbury Coalition, talking about how this would transform our historical tradition of soggy death memorial site altars into a colorful map of possibility.
And now I'll share with you guys a little bit about our fabrication and installation plans and preliminary maintenance recommendations. For the love pole, the tiles are again created with ceramic glaze on pre-bisque tiles, fired and attached with acryl pro to cement backer boards, routed and sealed with exterior paint and sealant on the back and Miracle 511 impregnator sealant on the front. They're then inserted into a metal frame. I'll show that in the next slide, which can be wrapped around the pole and padlocked together. And there's space included within that frame for the handhold plate on the pole. The pole itself will also be painted with exterior grade paint and sealant prior to the installation of the wraparound frame. The plan is to have it go up in May, pending permission from the property owner, and last for 18 months. Based on the lifespan of similar projects, we don't anticipate many maintenance needs over that time frame. But again, it's 2 blocks from our home organization, so we will do monthly checks for damage and complete needed repairs that arise. And on the next slide, you can see a mock-up for the metal frame that the mosaic panels would be inserted into, and this is what would wrap around the street pole. So there's no permanent damage to the pole itself. And Temmy will tell us about the Unity pole fabrication.
So for the Unity pole, we'll be using Tyvek stripes that are pre-treated with exterior grade spray paint and primer. Participants then will add stencil patterns and images using acrylic indoor spray pens and also paint markers. These then treated with Flex Seal sealant. The strips are connected by a metal retaining rings at the top and the bottom of weaving. Ample space around the handhold plate. The handhold plate is cut and sewed from weaving. Additional pre-painted Tyvek wraps around the metal rings and middle section. The pole itself will also be painted with exterior grade paint and sealant prior to installation of Tyvek weaving. Installation would go up in May and last for 18 months. Based on lifespan of similar projects by the artist, we do not anticipate many maintenance needs over this time frame. That said, the location is 3 blocks from the home site, and we'll be doing monthly check-ins for damage.
You got to unmute, love.
And here you can see the sign we would include for the project with artist cohort names and brief description.
And this sign would be installed on the town field fence alongside the Cycles for Peace mural as an introduction to Peace Pools. Thank you guys so much for listening. This is really the project that is deepest in our hearts. I've got the 2 people whose memory I'm doing this project, Stacy and Dion, here with me. I don't know if any of the other artists want to call out their loved ones and whose names they're doing this project as well.
And I'm doing it for my son, Amin, which is back here in this lovely photo with me.
I am doing it for my uncle who unfortunately passed away 5 years ago.
And I'm doing it for Lewis Brown, my brother. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for sharing that and for the work that you've been doing in all 3 of these, but in this one in particular. I will open it up to commissioner comments now. Maybe we might apply the same comment here with the plaque itself, just trying to tighten it down. Generally, we try to be under 75 words. People don't tend to read very much. So it's better to be tighter and really get your message across in a fast way rather than have a longer text. Any other comments from commissioners or questions? Okay, hearing none. How about members of the community? Any public comments at this time? All right, also seeing none of those, I wonder if we could move directly to a motion then.
I'll make a motion.
Great.
So the motion is to approve the creation and installation of the peace poles at various locations. Do we have to say the locations? Or?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Great. All right, so that's the motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, Bob. So Kim and Bob. And then I will go down the list. If you agree with the motion, please say yes when I call your name. Camilo?
Yes.
John?
Yeah.
Michael?
Yes.
Cara?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. So the motion also passes. So congratulations, 3 passes in a row. That's great for the teams. Okay, so next up, I think we have our final presentation for the evening is a review for the Engine 17 Public Art Project, a long-term project in Dorchester. Amber Torres will be presenting. And this is for artist selection.
Thank you, Mark. Next slide, please. The Engine 17 Public Art Project is funded through Percent for Art, which allocates 1% of every capital project's budget to public art. The city has allocated $24.7 million toward the design and construction of a new Engine 17 fire station. The new building will feature a slope roof, a dormer stair tower, and a brick facade that speaks to the historic use of masonry for firehouses. Engine 17 is located on 37 East Street in Dorchester, and the total budget for the public art project is $200,000. The groundbreaking took place this past February, and you can see the mayor, Fire Commissioner Burke, and other city officials in the top photo at the groundbreaking. But the project is now under construction with the target completion date of spring 2024. The theme of the call is firefighting, and the site for the artwork will be the glass canopy at the entrance, which will provide shading and a distinctive civic presence. The large windows will introduce daylight into program spaces and create a welcoming entrance to the building. Putting stone outcroppings will be incorporated, preserving this unique local landscape feature. Just a quick overview of our artist recommendation process. First, the review working group was assembled in February 2023. We assembled a group of Dorchester-based cultural leaders, organizers, or artists with experience working with transparent materials to review the submissions. The proposals were reviewed and scored by the working group using Submittable, and that happened last month, March 2023. And then here we are now in April presenting the recommended or the most highly advantageous artists for in front of the BAC today in April. And I'll talk about the timeline and the project schedule and next steps at the end of the presentation, but next slide, please. I feel like I should have built in a drum roll, but I'm really super excited to announce that the artist that we are recommending and the working group has recommended for this opportunity is Michelle Gutlove. Michelle Gutlove is a glass artist based in Natick, Mass, who has completed over 35 art installations, mostly in the United States. Michelle lived and worked, quote, in Jamaica Plain prior to moving to Natick and building her glass studio. Her children have also performed in the beloved Strand Theater, end quote. I wanted to pull language from the application directly. Michelle's initial concept is to create either glass panels, a suspended sculpture, or a combination of the two that celebrates the awesome powers of water, fire, and courage for Dorchester's Engine 17 fire station. As an architecture student, Michelle worked part-time as an EMT and continues to be in awe of firefighters' courageous generosity. According to Michelle, quote, the iridescent sheen on hummingbird feathers is an example of the optical phenomenon called thin film interference that Michelle uses in her work. Quote, microscopically thin layers of mineral oxides capture this ephemeral wonder with brilliant permanence, end quote. Michelle also plans to incorporate the community's ideas into the artwork in order to build support, personal connections with the installation, and plus it makes for better art. Next slide, please. I pulled just a few examples from the application and from Michelle's portfolio, including on the left, a piece called Kaleidoscope installed in 2021 at the New Brisbane Public Library in Brisbane, California. And on the right, a detailed shot of tributaries made in 2019 at the Jefferson Elementary School in Richland, Washington. And on the, in this image, you see Optical Play created in 2021 at the Laramie County Community College in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Next slide. This is just one last slide of Michelle's work, but I did include it on the first page. Her website is studiogh.com if you want to look at more of her work. But these two pieces on the left, you see the 2023 recent installation of Living Energy in Colorado. And on the right, the image that was included on the first slide of this presentation, Optical Play from 2021 in Wyoming. Thank you. Next slide. And just to touch on the timeline after the artist is hopefully approved tonight, we're going to start the contracting phase. And once the contract is finalized, we can start preliminary design and community engagement, hopefully by the summer. That means that the final design phase would be in progress by the winter. And then we're hoping to be in fabrication by next spring, 2024, which is when construction is expected to wrap up with the building. That means that we'll likely need to install post-construction sometime in the summer. And by next fall, 2024, we're hoping to have the work completed and accepted into our collection. But before I wrap up this presentation, I do want to mention that Michelle Gotlove is in the audience, and we're so glad that you can make it. Thank you so much. But commissioners, let us know if you have any questions. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Amber. Michelle, would you like to say a word?
I think Amber did a great job. I just pulled out of my application. Yep, I used to be an EMT and I worked with firefighters. I also used to be an architect, but now I'm living my dream and I'm doing public art installations. And I'm open to working with local artists if that works out. I've done that in the past. And yeah, any questions? I'm completely open to any questions.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we're excited to see where your work goes. Let me open it up to any questions from commissioners. I'm assuming there might not be too many questions, but does anybody? Bob?
I only have one question because I'm a little confused. Are these projections? They're very beautiful, but I can't tell the medium.
I work with glass. I never work with anything that's plastic, acrylic, rubber, anything like that, because glass is permanent. Even non-yellowing plexiglass will yellow in 20 years, whereas these will be in 100 years, 200 years, they'll be the same. And what you're seeing is there's a prismatic coating on the surface of the glass, which is made with mineral oxide quartz crystals, which is basically glass. And when the light hits it, it transmits one color and it reflects the opposite color. So what you're seeing is just the reflections and the transmissions off the glass. For example, in the slide on the right, you see that bright green, that's being reflected off the glass, and then the yellows and purples, that's the light going through the glass. That's from one piece, and each piece does that. And whether we're making something that feels like sunlight on a lake or the light on the Aurora Borealis. I'm actually going to be doing an installation at the Aurora Borealis Museum in Reykjavik, which we're going to be making those green Aurora Borealis-like effects. It's all done with white light reflecting off of the glass. Does that answer your question?
It sure does, and it gives a spectacular effect. Thank you very much. Yes, it does answer.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from commissioners? How about comments from the public? It's always exciting to welcome a new artist into our collection, or at least the process. And Amber, thanks for guiding this all through. Do I hear a motion on the floor?
I can make a motion to accept the recommendation of artist Michelle Gutlove for the Engine 17 Fire Station project.
Great, thank you, Brian. How about a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, John, you won that one. All right, if you agree with the motion, as I call off your name, please say yes. Camilo?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Yes.
Michael? Tara?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well, so the motion passes. Michelle, we look forward to having you work with our team here and to seeing what you do in the next couple of months.
I am very far beyond delighted. So
great. All right. Well, we have one last item of business, which is a motion to adjourn. It's been a very productive evening. That's a lot of presentations, a lot of great work coming our way. So it's an exciting time to be an art commissioner. And I want to have everybody go out there in the world with a smile on your face in the nice weather. So let's see if anyone has a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Okay, thank you very much, Bob.
I second. I second.
Okay, Kim seconded that. Thank you, Kim. If I read off your name, as I read off your name, please say yes if you agree with the motion. Camilo?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Kara?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. So we are adjourned. Go enjoy the day, everybody, or the evening. Thanks so much for all the hard work that's represented in today's discussion.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, everybody. Congratulations, all.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.